So I guess I can start. This very special day, the 25th anniversary of this foundation, and 10 years with this museum. LaDonna saw the last train leave Heart Mountain, and she loved this place very much. I want to thank Joyce for supporting her, as well as her daughter Lynn. But when I looked around the room and I saw Laurel Friedenberg, who you recruited LaDonna, I thank you. And I see John Collins here from the beginning, and I saw Christy Fleming, our first executive director. And I think a lot of their support was because of LaDonna. So I thank all of you for being here. She always said that she saw that last train leave Heart Mountain. It wasn't the wind that made her cry. It was the emotion. We're also celebrating Pete Simpson, another witness of what happened here. With his loving kindness and support, we honor him today. But now I'd like to turn it over to the dedication of LaDonna. Thank you.
Shirley, I'd like to welcome up Joyce Harkness to speak next.
Thank you. I hope everybody can hear me, because I was with a friend the other day and we went to a program and couldn't hear anyone. So can everybody hear me? Okay. Well, LaDonna, Laurel Friedenberg has a lot to do with this because she was the one who got LaDonna on the board. And that was in 1989. And then the next year she became the curator. So then our phones started ringing off because people were calling and they wanted some tours. And so LaDonna would say, okay, meet me at the cottonwood trees. And you've seen those cottonwood trees when you came in. And so she would, and I never knew how many people, but she not just had, individual people, but she had buses from different towns here in Powell. And I didn't know how many people she was doing until around 2010. She got some money from the humanities in the state to go around Wyoming to educate people about the ILC. And so I'm driving, we came from a town in the southern part. So she's reading all these names. And I said, well, what are those? And she said, well, those are names of people that I had written down where they were from and if they gave donations. And I'm going, wow. So then one day I found it and I said, well, we need to do something with this. I said, we can't just leave it in the desk drawer. And so I finally brought it up to Dakota the other day. And then I said, I wonder how many names are in there. So I counted over 300 names of people that she had interviewed. And so it was just, this was, the rest of her life that she did this. And so she was always, at the meetings. And one of the things, she also wrote this book. And I hope that people will eventually, I think Dakota said that he's going to see if he can make more of these, because these are tales of Heart Mountain. And so she was just, always wanted to do everything for the program. So then one day, the gal's name is Nicole, I finally remember her name. She was the one who suggested that Laurel and Lynn House and LaDonna have put in the computer all the names of the people on the Sentinel. I don't know I must even know that the Sentinel was the newspaper. And so for the last several years, LaDonna has met with either the Lynn or Laurel. And what they're doing is they're indexing the Sentinel so that what LaDonna would do is she would tell them the name, the title of the article in the Sentinel, and then all the names that were in that program. And so eventually you will be able to come here. They have 2 months left. And it really hurt LaDonna because when she couldn't finish it, because she would have finished it, but the pandemic happened. And so Laurel and Lynn are going to finish this so you can come in, because this is supposed to be a research center. So you're going to come in and put somebody's name down, and then all of the articles that that person was in will come up on the computer. Because that's what, Craig Thomas, he was the senator here, and he was the one who said, I don't want it just to be a museum, I want it to be a research center. And this is a great little book, and at the end, we'll finish up a great picture of LaDonna, and it said, I believe that I have the best job of all. I get to meet nice people, hear their stories, and see the wonderful artifacts that they permit us to care for. So, thank you.
I'd like to welcome up Nick.
Thank you, Dakota, and thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming. When I first heard about LaDonna's passing, my thoughts went immediately back to the first time I met LaDonna. But to help set the scene, I need to tell you a little bit about what happened before I met LaDonna. And that was back in 1942 when I came here on a prison train and I got off and I set foot in Wyoming for the first time. And I got on the backs of the army trucks and they took us through the main gate and saw the guard towers and the guards with M1 rifles and went through the barracks, living in a really tight room like the smaller room that you'll see here in the exhibit if you haven't been here before. Terrible food, awful cold weather, no utilities in the room. My father went blind in camp. My grandfather died, suffered bad in camp, but the worst experience was going to downtown Cody. After about a year, they let us, a few at a time, we went into Cody and do some shopping. And I remember walking up and down the main street and looking So what I did was I looked to the west and I saw Hart Mountain. And I looked between my barrack and Hart Mountain was the very corner I could imagine the corner of the camp, and that's where the Saitos lived. Shirley and I mean, she wasn't born yet, but Setsuko. Setsuko was about my age, and her parents were in that corner, about a mile away from my barrack. And then I looked to the east, I looked to the north, and I saw the foothills, and that held the reservoir. And right in front of that, there used to be the cemetery. And then I looked to the right, which is east, and I saw the chimney in the hospital. And I remember I spent a lot of time in that hospital watching my grandfather pass away. And then I looked to the right even more in the south side, and I saw the depression where the swimming pool was, the swimming hole. And I remember swimming. So I told LaDonna, I said, this is it. In engineering, we use the term triangulation, and we use triangulation on 3 points, but if you have 4 points, you're really accurate. And so I knew we were right here. And so I thank LaDonna for helping me find a homecoming to those awful years we had there during the war years. So that's my memory of LaDonna, and I really thank her for what she did. Thank you all.
Finally, I'd like to welcome up Beth Nelson.
Can you just set that down? Set the mic on there. Morning, everybody. I'm Doug Nelson, and I'm the vice chair of the Heart Mountain Wyoming Foundation. And if you'll indulge me, I want to read something this morning because I don't want to get this too far wrong. It's important. You know, I've traveled to this place 50 times maybe over the last 2 decades to work on foundation stuff, to try to be of some help to the aspirations that this foundation had. And LaDonna Zall was my first personal friend in my involvement with this foundation. And she was the one constant joy and comfort and reliable friend that made me feel at home here. And it doesn't feel right that she's not here. I don't feel right this time. That's of course because I miss someone, someone that Linda, my wife, and I came to love and admire deeply. But it also doesn't feel quite right because LaDonna was in many very real ways the essence and the soul of the Heart Mountain Wyoming Foundation. And for me, it's hard, at least right now, to imagine this foundation without her. As a little girl, you know, who watched the last train of incarcerees pull away from that awful camp in 1945, she was at what, as a little girl, she instinctively knew had been hurtful and wrong. And that years later led her to try in so many different ways to set things right. LaDonna Zall was the foundation's curator and archivist before we had a curator and archivist. She was our registrar before she knew what a registrar was. She was our docent long before we had an education director. And she was our first fundraising officer, tending to the small donation box installed up near the honor roll, collecting the dollar bills for the foundation. LaDonna was also one of our first and most faithful and most generous of donors. She was our Ford Foundation, our Walk Foundation, our Eritani Foundation, long before these institutions came to help us realize LaDonna's vision. There's no way to measure how much LaDonna Zall did to get us where we are today. We will always be indebted to her for whatever good things and important things we are able to do here in the future. But it's not those contributions alone which we are missing today. We are also mourning the loss of one extraordinary human being. LaDonna was among the most authentic, honest, principled, courageous, and independent thinking people I have ever met. And at the same time, she was warm, kind, funny, humble, compassionate, and for the lack of a better summary, she was one damn good woman. Everyone benefited from her presence while she was with us, and I guess we can only hope that now that she is gone, we all try to live up to her example. Thanks, LaDonna. Rest in peace.
Thanks so much, Doug. Now we would like to pivot forward to from speaking about LaDonna and who she was in her life, to talking about her vision, what she wanted for this organization, and where we're headed. And a big part of that is recognizing some of our major leaders that have been with us for a long time and are helping provide inspiration for the future. And I want to turn things over to, once again, to Shirley Ann Higuchi.
Thank you, Dakota. Our next person to recognize today is Peter K. Simpson, who has long been an icon and representative of what Wyoming is great for. He learned from the wisdom of his father, Millward, and of his scoutmaster, Glenn Livingston, who brought Pete and his brother Al and their scout troop into Heart Mountain. They embodied the same values as LaDonna Zall, who witnessed the last train leave Heart Mountain. And the tears that was shed by LaDonna, as Doug Nelson mentioned, wasn't from the wind or the cold air. It was from the sadness that she experienced. Yesterday, Pete Simpson came to my book event at the Cody Library to show support. And he enriched my book event by telling the great stories of what happened at Heart Mountain. He talked about his visit to the camp and how he observed the children, the Japanese American children, were just like him. And he remembers drinking hot cocoa in front of a potbelly stove with one of his Japanese American friends and the mother that offered that drink. That moved Pete Simpson. That changed him. That helped make him and made him who he is today. I am the lucky beneficiary of that history. All of you are lucky beneficiaries of that history that Pete has shared with us. Therefore, this board honors Pete Simpson today for his faithful witness to that lasting history. We seek higher education from Peter Simpson on this 10th anniversary of this museum and on the 25th anniversary of this foundation. So the Heart Mountain Wyoming Foundation Board that oversees the Heart Mountain Historic Site and its Interpretive Center wishes to recognize Peter K. Simpson, and we proclaim, whereas a supporter of the mission to educate the public on civic duty and education, including the mass incarceration of Japanese Americans, Peter Simpson was born faithful to this witnessed activity in the history of this great state. and the pioneer spirit. Whereas Peter Simpson inspired thousands of Wyomingian residents to seek higher education and public service. Whereas his scholarship, guidance, and mentorship inspired the creation and the development of the Heart Mountain Wyoming Foundation, inspiring others to join him, we, the board of the directors of the Heart Mountain Wyoming Foundation, hereby award Peter K. Simpson the 2021 LaDonna Zall Compassionate Witness Award. Peter, can you please come up and make a few remarks?
Thank you. Oh, well, the most moving and most important award I ever received. I haven't received that, but this one does it all the way around. Have sometimes you grow old enough, you get put on boards before you know it, and they all die or something like that. But sometimes you get on one that you wouldn't remove yourself, even if your decrepitude would be on reason. And this is one. In fact, I'm about to have a birthday soon. I'll be 91. Somebody said, who ever wants to be 91? I said, somebody who's 90. But my trouble is that I'm outranked by 4 other guys on this board in terms of being the senior member. And all of them, in their ways, have been witness to this camp, to its existence, to the perseverance of those who want to remember and keep that memory alive. And nobody did that better than this woman. This picture is so gratifying and placed up here. That's what she looked like. That's how she smiled. That's who she was. It's just ingratiating. She encapsulated and generated kindness, empathy, a sense of love. You know, somebody once said the 3 or 4 ways that you get things done are power, money, connections, and then love. In this case, this place wouldn't be here without love. And that's who brought light over my ship. So she was both endearing and inspirational. She just sitting next to an art teacher who you probably all know at Powell at the college, who said after LaDonna retired from teaching, she was a teacher. That was a part of the thing. And she took art classes from her. And by the way, Linda and Joyce, God bless you both and the family. LaDonna was an amateur. What a great word that is. It starts with an old Latin word, in case any of you ever had to take Latin when you were growing up. It was, shall we go through the conjugation? But the first of that word is love. She loved what she did. She had empathy for it, and she didn't seek self-aggrandizement. She didn't seek, and she, in fact, would have been embarrassed right here today. But no, we don't want to do that. I can just see her saying that. And so it's a great honor. I don't want to go on forever here, but I'm deeply moved. I will tell you a quick story that really doesn't exactly involve LaDonna, but I told her about, which is my own experience. Part of this is witness to what happened here. I did run across a kid. We were Boy Scouts. My wife's uncle, Glenn Livingston, was my scoutmaster, a great man who brought the scout troop out here. I think Scout Troop 333 was the one out here. Troop 50 was ours. And when we got out there, I met this kid who was, we went out and threw a little football in the break between the jamboree events. And it was cold, it was just, someone once said cold as Christian charity, I don't know. Anyhow, so we were throwing the football out there, and he said, "Ooh, it's really cold." He said, "It's so cold, my goose pimples got goose pimples." I thought, this guy's funnier than Bob Hope. He's terrific. So he took me to his shack, and his mom, you couldn't cook in those shacks. You
Right.
had, the potbelly stove was for warmth, but she had a little tin teapot, and she had cooked hot chocolate. Had hot chocolate. Never forget how good that tasted. Okay, a little fast forward. We built this wonderful institution with its, and I hope all of you have a chance to go through everything. Many of you, probably most of you have. And in there, they replicated the old tar paper shacks. There's a replication, and you can walk into a room where someone lived, as Senator mentioned, those small rooms that they lived in. And so Steve Leacher was the director at that time, and we walked, he said, well, let's go out before the event itself and see, let's go out before the event itself and maybe look at the interior. So I went through the museum material, and I came to that shack door, and Steve said, well, let's go. And I said, wait. And it still kind of gets to me, because it looks so much like that room, like that door, and like that place, and reminded me so much of that mother, of that hot chocolate, of that young funny guy, that I couldn't stop the emotion. LaDonna had emotion for this place at 11, same time I was 15. And all of us carry with us, all of the incarcerees and their descendants who we know and love, carry this emotion as a part of what we do to make sure nothing like that can occur again. So here's to LaDonna, and thank you so much for the best damned award that I ever got.
Yes. Thank you so much, Pete, and thank you so much for everything that you've shared with us. Your plaque is coming, it's on the way, and it'll embody my speech and the information I provided that'll be inscripted and shared with you. So thank you so much, and thank you for what you continue to do today and tomorrow. We're gonna be in Jackson Hole on August 25th, so we got it, we're twisting his arm, but anyways, I'm gonna turn the microphone back over to Dakota.
Thanks once again to everyone for coming out this morning and taking a moment to remember LaDonna. It was so special to us all. There we go. So I did want to make a couple of brief announcements as we break out here. We will have a little free time to explore the museum next on our pilgrimage schedule. So feel free to look around the exhibits and check those out, especially our new exhibit, History Often Rhymes, and Special Exhibits Gallery. Also in the Special Exhibits Gallery, we will be setting up the demonstration of the Japanese American National Museum A Life in Pieces virtual reality exhibit about Stanley County. It is really very cool. Bring your phone. We'll strap you into one of these cardboard headsets, and you can explore the camp through Stanley's office. It's pretty impressive. Also, beginning in the lobby, Brandon Dake will be leading a tour out to the original barrack that we're restoring. So if you want to see that, including behind the scenes peeks at different parts of that, definitely head out with him. We will also, is John Amakawa in here? Oh, he's outside. So I'll look for John Amakawa in the lobby as well. I'll have him wave. And he is going to be leading tours showing off a little bit about our new augmented reality tour around the grounds, which is awesome. Feel free to tag along with him and see that. And then finally, Polly Richter will be setting up a folding table if you would like to fold some origami, and that'll be in the Hoshizaki reflection. We will reconvene here in the theater at 11:30 to recognize Sam Mihara. Thanks so much, and thank you all for coming.